Melissa spun, searching for an opening. But the first doll was already lunging again. His hands clamped onto her arms, cold and vice-like. "No," she screamed, twisting violently. She drove her knee upward, catching him square in the gut. He gasped, grip faltering. She ripped free and shoved him back with every ounce of strength in her body. He stumbled into the broken lamp, shards slicing his arm. Still, he didn't cry out. He just giggled, a hollow, mechanical sound. Melissa's stomach turned. "What are you?" From the stairwell behind, Natalie's voice carried, calm and sing-song. "They're what Derek was meant to be. What he is now. Perfect dolls. No anger. No violence. No freedom." Like hell, Melissa spat, charging forward. She barreled into the second doll, using her shoulder like a battering ram. The impact sent him sprawling across the lobby floor, knocking over a rack of Motel brochures. Pamphlets fluttered around him like mocking confetti. Melissa seized her chance. She bolted for the glass doors at the entrance, her chest heaving, lungs screaming. The first doll lunged again, but she shoved the door open with her whole weight, the cool night air slamming into her face like salvation. She tumbled out onto the cracked pavement, skidding on her hands and knees, skin burning. Behind her, the dolls pressed against the glass like mannequins trying to escape their display case. Melissa scrambled to her feet, legs shaking. For the first time in years, she was outside, truly outside Derek's world. But then she heard it. The faintest echo carried on the night air. Natalie's voice, sweet as honey and sharp as razors. "You can run, Mel, but my words are already inside you." Melissa froze, every hair on her arm standing on end. For a split second, she couldn't tell if the chill she felt was from the night wind or from something buried deeper, whispering inside her mind. Melissa tore across the cracked pavement of the motel parking lot, lungs burning, shoes slapping against the asphalt. She didn't look back, not at the glowing lobby, not at the dolls pressed against the glass, not at the stairwell where Natalie's voice had floated like a curse. Only forward. The night air was sharp, heavy with the scent of gasoline and rain-soaked concrete. Melissa darted past rusted cars and dumpsters, weaving between shadows, her every instinct screaming, "Run. Don't stop." At the edge of the lot, she found the road, a narrow, empty stretch of highway lit only by a sputtering street lamp. Her heart pounded as she sprinted down the shoulder, desperate for distance, desperate for anywhere but here. Her thoughts fractured, jagged. What was that place? What has she done to them? What if she tries to do it to me? She slowed only when her body forced her to, stumbling off the road into a ditch where the grass was tall and damp. Collapsing to her knees, she buried her face in her hands, chest heaving. The silence of the countryside wrapped around her. For the first time in hours, she was alone. But then, breathe in, breathe out. Melissa jerked upright, eyes wide. The voice hadn't come from the road or the motel. It had come from inside her head. Natalie's words, remembered, replayed, but sharper now, almost alive. Her chest rose and fell without her consent, her breath sinking with the phantom cadence. "No," she whispered, clutching her ribs. "Not me. You won't take me." But her body betrayed her, inhale, exhale, just as Natalie had commanded back in the room. Melissa staggered to her feet, shaking violently. "I'm not your doll," she screamed into the dark, voice cracking. "You don't own me." Her cry vanished into the empty night. And yet, beneath the chorus of cicadas and the hum of distant traffic, she thought she heard it, the faintest giggle, high-pitched, falsetto, carried on the wind. Delilah's laugh. Melissa wrapped her arms around herself, trembling. She had escaped the motel. But Natalie's web had already followed her into the night. Melissa stumbled deeper into the night, hugging herself against the chill. Her sneakers scuffed gravel as she followed the highway's edge, every shadow twitching at the corners of her vision. Her body moved forward, but her mind wasn't free. "Breathe in, breathe out." The words struck again, unbidden. Her chest expanded and fell, betraying her as if Natalie's voice lived somewhere behind her eyes. Melissa bit her lip until it bled, trying to break the rhythm. She gasped raggedly, forcing her lungs to stutter, to resist. But the pull was still there. Subtle. Constant. Like invisible strings. Her knees buckled, sending her collapsing into the tall grass by the roadside. She clutched her head with both hands, nails digging into her scalp. "Get out of me," she screamed. For a moment, the night answered with silence. Then, softly, faintly, she heard it. "Good girl." Melissa's stomach lurched. She spat into the dirt, shaking violently. Not real. She's not here. She can't be here. But when she squeezed her eyes shut, she saw flashes, Derek in his frills, twirling with that broken giggle. Andrea, rocking on the bathroom floor. The pastel dolls in the lobby, moving in eerie unison. And Natalie's smile, calm, patient, unbreakable. Melissa's breath hitched, caught between sobs and rage. If she gave in, she would end up like them. An empty doll. A shell. A parody. Her fingers brushed something sharp in the grass, broken glass from a tossed beer bottle. She clenched it tight until it cut her palm, pain blooming hot and real. "Yes," she whispered through clenched teeth. "That's me. That's real." Not her voice. Not her words. But even as blood dripped from her hand, Natalie's whisper coiled tighter in her skull. "You'll thank me when it's over." Melissa pressed the glass harder, fighting back tears. "Never." The cicadas screamed in the silence of the night, drowning out the phantom voice for now. Melissa knew she couldn't run forever. She couldn't just escape. She had to fight. Not just Natalie, but the infection of her voice already planted inside her. And if she didn't? She'd end up twirling in lace, giggling into the void, another doll in Natalie's growing collection. Melissa trudged along the roadside, her body trembling from the war inside her head. The night air was thick with cicadas, but underneath their chorus Natalie's words still slithered. "Breathe in, breathe out." Her chest fought to obey. Each time she forced herself to resist, the pull grew stronger, as if invisible hands were tugging at her lungs. Melissa staggered off the road again, collapsing into the grass. Her palms still bled where the shard of glass had cut her earlier. She clenched it, staring at the crimson seeping into her skin. Pain is mine, she thought. Not hers. Mine. Her eyes started across the ground, desperate for anything, something to hold on to. That's when she saw it. Half buried in the dirt was a small, bent keychain, cheap metal, scratched with wear. She dug it out, brushing mud from its surface. The sight made her breath catch. It was a little silver locket, shaped like a heart. Shaking, Melissa pried it open. Inside was a tiny photograph, faded, water-damaged, but still visible. Her and Natalie. They couldn't have been older than 15, grinning at a county fair, cotton candy in their hands, sunburn on their cheeks. Back when Natalie had been her shield, her best friend, before the shadows, before the monster she'd made. Melissa's throat tightened. She touched the locket to her chest, squeezing it so hard the edges bit into her skin. "This," she whispered. "This is who we were. Not what you've become." The phantom voice in her head hissed like static. "Good girl." Melissa shook violently, clutching the locket tighter. "No, not your words. Mine." For the first time since she'd fled the motel, the pull weakened, just slightly, but enough. The air felt clearer. Her lungs obeyed her, not the command slithering in her skull. The locket glimmered faintly in the moonlight, its weight grounding her, reminding her that there had been a Natalie who once loved her like a sister. That somewhere, beneath the monster's smile, maybe pieces of that girl still existed. Melissa's eyes burned with tears, but her jaw set in steel. She had an anchor now. She wasn't going to be another doll. Not without a fight. The locket bit into Melissa's palm as she stood at the roadside, blood crusted on her fingers, the photograph pressing against her skin like a brand. She closed her eyes and whispered, "You don't get to own me." When she opened them again, her gaze fixed on the faint neon glow of the motel sign in the distance. Every instinct screamed to keep running, but something deeper roared louder. She wasn't done. Melissa straightened her shoulders, wiped her face with the back of her hand, and started walking back. Each step was shaky, but the locket's weight steadied her. It wasn't just metal. It was a memory of who Natalie used to be, a reminder that monsters weren't born, they were made. And if Natalie had remade Derek and the others, Melissa could remake her too. The closer she came, the stronger the pull became. Natalie's voice whispered like a ghost in her ear. Sit down. Be still. Obey. Melissa clutched the locket tighter. Not tonight, she muttered. The motel loomed ahead, cracked neon buzzing like an insect. Room 214 glowed faintly on the second floor, light spilling through the curtains. Shadows moved inside. Melissa crept up the stairwell, her breath shallow, every creak of the metal steps threatening to give her away. She paused at the landing, heart pounding. And then she heard it. Natalie's voice, calm and melodic, from inside the room. Dream doll. Pretty doll. Broken doll. Delilah's falsetto giggle followed, hollow and manic. Andrea whimpered. Melissa's stomach twisted. How many more inside? How many trapped in her web? She pressed the locket to her chest, the photograph's edges digging into her skin. Anchor. Focus. Fight. With a sudden surge of courage, she pushed the door open. The scene hit her like a wave. Delilah spun in lace, arms outstretched. Andrea sat slumped in a chair, eyes glazed. And Natalie stood at the center of it all, calm, commanding, a conductor of broken minds. Her head snapped up the moment Melissa entered. Well, Natalie said smoothly, a smile curling across her lips. I knew you'd come back. Melissa stepped inside, the locket clenched in her fist like a weapon. You're right, she said, voice steady despite the tremor in her body. I came back because I'm not your doll. For the first time, Natalie's smile faltered.